Hey guys, and welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria, and I'm joined by my best friend and co host.
Neosha.
And today we're reviewing Married at First Sight, season 18, episode 5.
Right?
5, okay, perfect. All right, but if you're watching this season, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, give this video a thumbs up, and please let us know in the comments what your perspectives are about these couples. All right, we're gonna start with Thomas and Camille because there wasn't much on them.
No, we're still on the honeymoon. And so I think they do their first activity. They go kayaking. And the only thing I have from this scene is where she asks him, do you prefer to take the lead or be in the back seat? I wrote down, I thought his answer was it depends on what it is and that he could be flexible. And she expressed that she prefers, while she's in charge, I guess, at work, she prefers when she comes home for the man to take the lead. And
Yeah.
so I wonder if she communicated that to him. We saw it in a confessional scene, but I wrote, so did you tell him that in the kayak, or is he
Yeah.
still not knowing what you'd prefer? Because we didn't see it. So,
I figure she must have because of something that he said at the end of the episode with them. So I'm like, okay, so he must know that she wants him to take a more active role. I think he's kind of trying to play it by ear with her because he doesn't want to offend her. And I see him really trying to shape himself to fit her.
so she's
Not so
comfortable.
much. Yeah, not so much that he's changing who he is, but just like, okay, what are our dynamics? We're establishing that now, and I want to make sure that we're establishing something that's healthy for me and her. So I think that's the approach that he's taking. And maybe she's taking that to mean, okay, he's a little too go with the flow and not very
Is
active. He's more
assertive.
passive than active. Yeah.
It,
And so,
which kind of makes sense in this type of scenario. If you're in the wild and a man sees a woman who he thinks is beautiful and he approaches her, hey, can I buy you a drink? He pursues her. It may make sense that because you're starting with that assertive vibe, you'd keep
yeah.
it going versus this is an arranged marriage. And so I could see why he's acting the way that he's acting because he wouldn't want to offend her or rub her the wrong way, as we've seen with previous couples who do way
Yeah.
too much.
I prefer it this way. Like, get to know me and see what role you need to play.
Hmm.
Okay, and then they went to a cute dinner,
Hmm.
and they were talking about how often they'd like to go out for dinner. He suggested, them even cooking together. I don't know. Thomas really likes this woman. You
He
can tell.
does. And I think she really likes him because of what she said about her dress. Like, oh, you see, I wore red. So I think she's also seeking a bit of validation because she did something similar with the lingerie. So I think she's also trying to gauge how much is this guy into me.
And I think she wants him to get maybe physical sooner
Hmm.
than
And
later.
not just
Where he
text.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's being respectful, and she's like, okay, I'm ready for it to go to the next level. And
Hmm.
I want him to initiate that. I think that's what's going on with them.
I
Uh,
agree.
at the dinner, he talked about his adoption story and his family history and their dynamics and things like that. And I loved this moment because she then shared about her family and she said something about how this isn't something I usually talk about, but
Hmm.
the fact that you were so vulnerable and shared about your family history really encouraged me to talk about my family history. So it's almost like I think he's leading in his vulnerability, which I think society as a whole doesn't often credit guys for, but
Hmm.
that's another way of leading. Like, I'm usually closed off about this thing, but because you were so open about something in the same area, now I feel like I have permission to follow you in your vulnerability. And I thought that was beautiful.
It was. And can we take a step back to talk about this adoption story? I want to make sure I
Mm,
heard it correctly because I didn't have time to rewind it. But he
yeah.
says that he found out through a Facebook post of his adopted mom who said
Yeah.
something about Happy Twins Day. We were
Yes.
blessed to be able to
The
adopt some
adoption.
twins. He reaches out to the dad, and the dad confirms it.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure how that happens because it seems like the mom was more open about it. So I'm surprised that she
He
wouldn't have
says he
been
was
open
in his
about it in the
30s.
home. Right.
I was so confused. So I was like, well, maybe he meant his mom who gave him up for adoption, but why would she be posting about it?
No,
That
because he said she posted about these boys were able to adopt, so it had to be the adoptive mom.
right. And so that is kind of a crazy story to find out
Mm-hmm.
that you're adopted through social
In your
media
30s.
and
Yeah.
you're in your 30s. And I think it was interesting that he called out how he called his dad about it and not his
Yeah.
mom who posted it.
So the parents were divorced at this point, is what I'm thinking.
Maybe.
Yeah, I want to know
That's a
more.
pretty wild story, and that may explain some of the energy when they were on the wedding day and the adoptive mom was there and their biological mom, and yeah, that it gives more context to maybe some of the energy around that whole situation. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so at the end, he talked about how he's been overthinking it and now he's just gonna go for it.
And she's
And
like,
I
"Yeah,
think she's like, yeah, do that.
you can
That's
touch me. It's
yeah,
okay."
exactly.
I will
So
say though, even though he's been playing it safe, we're not questioning if he's into her. I think with
mm-mm.
some of these couples, they'll be like, "Oh, well, it was because I was nervous or this or that." I think there's still a way to show you're interested in being with a
Yeah,
person. Versus, I feel like some of these is like, no, y'all just you don't want this person, so that's why you're acting the way you're acting. It's not because of nerves and playing it safe and being overwhelmed. You just don't want them, and say it.
yeah. Yeah, and even though he's been a step behind her in initiating physically, it's just me. I prefer it that way. I would prefer that he's a little bit slower than he's way too fast for her. So
It's only
I like that.
been three
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's the one who's able to say, okay, yeah, this is something I'm ready for, move forward.
Yep.
So yeah, that's all I have on them.
Yep. That's it.
All right, next we're going to do, did we say Carla and Juan?
Yeah. Let's do them.
Okay.
Yeah.
They seem to be having they seem to be having fun on the honeymoon, which is great because I can tell once they get back, their life is gonna crumble. So you might as well live it up.
And I think
That's
that's the vibe that Juan is on as well. I think he's already sensing that that's what it's going to be. So I think he is trying to keep them in this fun energy. They sit down for breakfast on the patio, and she jumps right into, hey, when we live together, what do you envision finances looking like? Once again, money's coming back up. Which is
yeah.
interesting that other than David and Michelle, we don't hear much talk about money with any of the other couples that I can think of. But
Yeah.
he says, "Oh, well, I'm starting a business. It's expensive. I know you like to travel, but that's something you're probably going to be doing by yourself, so I can honor my commitments." He goes in a lot of detail around the responsibility of start having a startup, a tech startup specifically, and the pressures that come from the investors. And basically, it's a money pit until it's up and running. And so when he said all of that, I thought, okay, that makes sense, but I didn't really like how he was just like, oh, well, you're going to be doing life by yourself.
Yes.
Are you open to being flexible? That may have worked when you were by yourself, but you're choosing to get married. You don't have to get married. You could
Yeah.
put this off until it's up and running and done. So I didn't like that vibe of it. Where it's like, okay, well, where
So
does she fit?
he's right. And that's the thing. Like when she says, I need to feel like you want to take care of me, like it seems like she just wants him to try, like, hey, I can't do everything that you want because of the
Hmm.
responsibilities that I have. So we might have to scale down on the vacations. Like we do things together, but it might be, domestic as opposed to international or something like just the willingness I think is missing from Juan. He's just like it's either 100 or zero.
Right.
And I don't think that's gonna mesh well with a marriage. And that goes back to what his family was saying about how he's stuck in his ways. I think we're seeing a little bit of that now.
And even the example he gave of, oh, well, the $400 dinners. And okay, maybe you would do that on you splurge for a birthday or anniversary, but nothing about Carla has seemed like she would be expecting $400 dinners once a
Yeah,
month or every quarter. So even that example felt a bit extreme. I understood what he was trying to say, but that's an extreme example in my opinion.
I agree. And you know what bothers me? I'm glad that she said, I'm very responsible with the obligations that I have because the way that he seems to think of her is irresponsible. Like, she's not buying $13 juices because she can't afford them.
And what did he say? Oh, well, those juices, that's just not something I would do with my money. And I loved her point of, well, yeah, I'm responsible, but this food and healthy food is something that
That's
I
what I
want to splurge
splurge
on.
on.
And to be honest, I think we all could look at someone else's life and say, oh, I'd never spend that much on that. But there are things in your life where you would splurge on, maybe traveling. Food is one of those things for her. And I'm pretty sure for him, he has those things too. It just hasn't come up where she would
Yeah.
be like, oh, I'd never spend that much on X.
Yeah, so she's not a shallow person. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think because she's small and cute and talks a certain way that people are trying to paint her as this girl wants to be a trophy wife, and I don't know that that's quite true.
Well, I think she would wants to be taken care of, but I think the level in which she may expect to be taken care of, I think people are perceiving it one way versus what it might actually be.
Yeah, so it's not giving me I need to be decked out in whatever, name brand. It's giving I want okay, the house to be stable so I can watch after the children.
And that can come at different levels. Yeah.
So anyway, and then even like just him not having the desire to care for her, I think is going to be a turn off for her because you don't even want to
It doesn't
care.
matter how much money he has. I think it's the energy that he's
The
giving. And it
intention.
could come in other forms other than just money. And I think that's what she's getting after.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I don't have much. They were struggling on that canoe. That's
Girl, the way they fell it. Did you see the color of that water? Oh, there's no way I'd want to fall
well,
in that.
she didn't fall in. The producer was like, "But why are you dry?"
Oh my gosh. If I can't see the bottom of the water,
It's a
it's a
little hurt.
no.
Yeah. Okay, and then they had a conversation later on where they were talking about the dishes in the sink, and I don't know, it felt like he was playing with her a little bit, like, oh, or thinking maybe she's not a person who would stand her ground, but he's like, if I left the dishes in the sink, how would you handle that? Would you just wash them? And she's like, for the first couple of times, maybe I would, but I would mention it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, for me, you would just have to tell me. And she goes, well, I'm telling you now.
Yeah, what is
Period.
she supposed to be your mother? You've been living, you're 38, I believe. You've been living, is
Miosha,
he
you just be
38?
making up these people's ages. He is 36.
Oh, I'm sorry. 36. You've been living by yourself. You should know at this point how to clean your house and when to do it and how to be respectful of the other people living
Yeah.
with you. One thing I wanted to jump to really quick, and I think they talked about this in a group setting about the rate in which they're moving in terms of intimacy and how they haven't progressed forward. And Juan actually says, hey, I don't want to move forward. He says, I want to be in love before I have sex with her.
But it seems like she's on the same page
Hmm.
because not necessarily in love, but she doesn't want to exchange. I mean, she said it in a very roundabout way and
Yeah,
in
very
her pillow
detailed.
talk. Yes, but she doesn't think that she needs to be sharing that part of herself with him. And so,
And I wrote, I think I don't perceive these two being in love by the end of this, so I don't think that it's going to happen. So,
yeah. Yeah. I don't think so. They might be the homies, which is a good transition to Kichi and Mim.
ooh, ooh, ooh,
What
ooh,
did
ooh.
you think about that? The whole, you said I'm the homie?
Uh, so I think it was what's the term? A Freudian slip? where you
Yeah,
say something where it comes out in the truth, but maybe you didn't mean to say it. Y'all can tell me if I'm describing it wrong, but I do think that it was the
ish.
truth
Yeah.
because he says something about, oh, well, it's okay. But he specifically said, oh, yeah, I said she's the homie.
Hmm.
It wasn't, oh, we have a great friendship. We enjoy our time together. And I agree with her with being taken aback by being described as the homie.
Especially because they just met each other. Like if I had been with my partner for 12 years, we met in the normal way for this society where, nobody arranged it for us or whatever. Um, and they said, "Oh yeah, that's the homie." At 12 years into a marriage, cool. I'll be your homie. But we just met 3 days ago. I
We're
don't want to
not
be your homie
friends.
yet. We're not friends. I want you to feel like, "Oh, she cute. She, like
Hmm.
still a woman. She
Right. You're
make me still
still
want you."
actively pursuing me. There's romantic
Yes.
interest there. And
Yeah.
it's also homie gives masculine vibes.
It gives Demi and Ollie.
Yeah, but more so, would you say she's the bro? I don't know. It just gives, I don't know, masculine vibes when a guy says, oh, that's my homie. You know he's referring to a man, not, oh,
Hmm.
that's my girl.
Or a tomboy.
Yeah. And so I agree with her on being taken aback. And I don't think he did a good job at cleaning it up at all.
At all. Like you don't think friendship's important? Oh yes, we all know that liking your long-term partner is more important than loving them at certain points, but
And then he dug himself in deeper where he was like, oh, well, you could be the ops. Excuse me? Ops versus homie? Those are the options we have?
I was like, "Excuse me?" But he always does. He never knows how to talk himself out of. Like,
All those words he got.
remember last time when he was like, but who wouldn't want something spectacular? Who wouldn't want something dope? No, that's not the point. And I feel like he grazes over the points that she's trying to make. Like, yeah, you want something that is a good vibe, but that's not perfection. Yeah, you want to like your person, you want to have a friendship with them, but they're not the homie. I think he just grazes over things.
And then I want to go back because I did rewind it back to write it down exactly how he said it. The guys asked him how's it going. He says specifically, we're getting to know each other as the homies. So he didn't just say, oh, she's the homie. We're getting to know each other as the homies. So that the reason why I said Freudian slip was you're telling us you're getting to know her as a friend.
Yeah.
I will say to give him some credit when they were sitting down on the patio and he was talking
Uh-huh.
about his childhood, how he bounced around back and forth. Kind of crazy how his dad kicked him out. It sounds like he was still a minor when this happened. Didn't tell
16.
his mom, and the mom said, "Hey, you need to move back home." When it started raining, I loved how he covered her hair. I was like, "This is the type of energy we want to see from you. Look out for her."
It's very culturally specific as well. The covering of the hair.
I
Like,
love to see that. So it catchy, good on your part. You get a few points
it's
from me.
hilarious. I will say there was a moment at the beginning though where he was talking about his reasons for becoming a teacher.
Hmm.
I don't know if I bought the tears. I would love to hear more about the what?
It just replayed back in my head when he said, "If this
If
don't
that
get you
don't make you
emotional,"
emotional.
I'm sorry.
And she was like, she handled it very well. I like how she is handling herself, where I think she could have been more snappy with all of the things that have happened, the perfection thing, the homie thing, like she could have been more snappy, but she isn't. I love how she handles it. Like she says what's on her mind, um, but it doesn't have to turn combative.
The whole
And I
mood.
appreciate her. Yeah, she's not killing the mood, but she's expressing herself. And I think that's a really good balance to have.
For me, I would have thought, who are you to tell me what I should be getting emotional about. And given the context of the conversation, you have this deep connection to your childhood experience, how that led you
Yeah.
into teaching, which is honorable. We definitely
Mhm.
need more amazing teachers.
Black male teachers as well.
But what you just met this woman, you don't know her, and I'm glad that she let him know about her upbringing and how it's impacted how she handles showing emotion versus not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would have rubbed me the wrong way. It makes it awkward. So now am I supposed to cry?
Cry on cue. Anyway, but that's all that I had on them.
Okay.
All right. I was saving the. I don't. Okay. I don't know when to talk about David and Madison working out together. Like, do we just talk about these two couples together? How do we do this? Because there
I
was some
think we
overlap.
we could talk about Madison and Allen, then let's talk about Madison and David working out, and then Michelle and David.
Okay, because I feel like the episode kind of starts for for Alan and Madison. I keep
Mm-hmm.
wanting to call them Allison and putting their names together, but with the workout because the first thing I have about them is so she comes back after the workout. So maybe we talk about the workout and
Okay.
then Alan. Okay, there we go. Sorry, y'all. We had to have a quick little meeting because the way that they intertwined this was interesting.
Because
Okay,
couples shouldn't be work. Uh, they shouldn't be working out anyways.
you don't think so? I mean, if you're David, who else he gonna hang out with?
I
Michelle
know,
and
poor
him.
poor guy. But I also think if things were going well or decent, like if Camille ran into, I don't know, who's another?
Alan.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, well, it's fine. But because we were already on to something with these two,
We're already adding something on it. We're adding extra
mhm.
extra dip on our chip. Okay, so let's talk about the workout. So on his way to the gym, supposedly he bumped into Madison, which okay, I don't know if I bought that, but I'm
When
just extremely
not
skeptical
only does he bump into her, he says, "Oh yeah, I could tell from when I saw you at the airport. He saw the guns. He saw the body. So, oh
she
yeah,
does
you
have.
definitely been pumping some iron, which she has. She looks great.
And now he's like, oh, it would be nice to get a woman's perspective. I don't know how I don't know how I feel about that.
You know what I think, and I'm going to give him grace on this.
Oh yeah,
He's looking for any help.
he's
He's in
lost.
panic mode. He doesn't know what to do. He's like, okay, as a guy, I clearly don't know what I'm doing. He hasn't had access maybe to the other guys because I don't know if they have their phones or not, but or they do have their phones. But I don't know
Yeah,
if
they
he's
have.
able to talk to them to get their advice. So from his perspective, I didn't have an issue with him
Yeah.
wanting to talk about it, to have some direction. The problem is you don't know Madison, and Madison doesn't know Michelle. So I don't even know how this could be helpful. This could actually make things worse.
That's what I thought. But I don't think
But it
I
wouldn't
didn't
matter.
fault him for it. I just think you don't know what you don't know. He's in panic. This is the first person who is willing to talk to him about these things because Michelle isn't. She's being vague, she's being closed
Hmm.
off. And so I think he welcomed that perspective, but I could just see it going wrong.
Oh,
That's all.
completely
Yeah.
left. And because it doesn't matter, it wouldn't have mattered what Madison said because of Michelle. Um, yeah.
But even what she did say, I don't know. Madison was saying, I'm closed off from Alan too, and so I think she was trying to put herself in Michelle's shoes.
Mm.
Madison, though, is still being nice to Alan. She's
Hmm.
cordial. She's still trying to spend time with him. She's giving it a shot. Michelle
Hmm.
isn't. And so that was like, I don't know that putting herself in Michelle's shoes was accurate. I appreciated the information or the advice that she gave him, but I didn't see that working for Michelle.
Right. She told him, hey, I think you should push a little harder, be a little harder. I don't think that was good advice given how Michelle is, but she doesn't know her. So,
But also, no advice would work for Michelle because
That's
Michelle
true.
doesn't want it to work. Because even like the pulling back isn't working for her. Oh, you pull back, but you didn't pull back enough. And now it's
Hmm.
so I don't think anything would have worked. But of course, Madison doesn't know that. She's just trying to be helpful. David had a 12-year relationship, which we haven't heard about this because Michelle hasn't asked him about himself or tried to get to know him like that. Um, I thought it was interesting though to hear that he had a 12-year relationship off and on.
Yeah, and but even Michelle aside, I think he just hasn't talked about it. I think he chose to disclose other things about himself out of the gate versus this one. I agree, her not knowing about it yet is partially because of just how things are going. I don't think he would have had an issue telling it
I
all
don't think so
on day
either.
one.
I
So,
think had she not been so overwhelmed,
mm,
he would have shared this. He seems to be a very open book. Like there are no
mhm.
surprises with him. Um, so yeah, someone in our comments put that, oh well, when he went to the gym, he probably had a smoke and came back smelling like smoke. I think maybe that was something that was revealed on the
Hmm.
after party. You guys can let us know.
Huh.
But I just don't think
Well,
Michelle is
but
interested
she
at all.
doesn't want him near her anyways.
Anyway,
So,
so shoot, smoke the whole pack of cigarettes at this point.
hmm,
You're not gonna be around her, and you're
yeah,
sleeping on the couch. So
yeah.
I don't. All right. Okay.
Oh, he
So
also revealed this tattoo as well in that conversation about the ex.
yeah, yes.
And we'll talk about it a little bit more when
When
we
we
talk
talk about
about,
them,
yeah.
because I have thoughts on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. After the conversation, then Madison. Why do I keep wanting to say Allison? Madison goes back to the hotel room to Alan,
Hmm.
and so they start talking about David and Michelle's relationship. I like how he rerouted them to, okay, so about us. Like
Hmm.
how are we feeling about me and you at this point? I
Hmm.
think he does a good job of bringing them back on track. And then they talked about how they typically deal with conflict.
Right. And so the way he described how he handles conflict is he looks for a resolution.
Hmm.
If it's something where he's doing something, he hopes to correct it, not to do it again.
Hmm.
And I think is taking his earnest or yearning to correct things and be better going forward as being a
A
pushover.
pushover.
She even goes
Hmm.
as far as to say, well, I don't want to call you a pushover.
Hmm.
But you're
Hmm.
basically describing it. Your reaction is giving that you think that he is. And I don't get pushover from him.
I don't either. I think it could be Madison. I think she wants him to be way more assertive than he's being. So, but he's still trying to learn her. The same thing that Thomas is doing, where he's not being overly assertive because he wants to make sure that she's comfortable. And I think she's misreading that.
But even, and this is different from Thomas and Camille because I think they have physical attraction for each other.
Hmm. Hmm.
You let it be known, your family let
Yeah.
it be known, you're not physically attracted to him. So it's another added layer of, okay, he's probably not going to be as assertive because he doesn't want you to be like, ill, this guy,
Turned
don't
off.
touch me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't get that he's a pushover. I get that he's very sure of himself. He's confident in the man that he's become. He's take it or leave it. To me, a pushover would be, oh, I'm this
A
way. How
yes
can I
man.
change? How can
Hmm.
I see him as being accommodating and yearning to please and make his partner happy while
Yeah.
being his most authentic self.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And I think he's just trying to figure out is my most authentic self for you or not. I feel like he's just trying to see where he fits in with her or if he even fits in with her.
and also with Madison, I don't know if I'm projecting this onto her, but maybe in
Hmm.
her past relationships, she's not used to guys
Being nice
having
to
that
her.
yearning to make her happy. And the way
Yeah.
she describes these pretty boys where they just obsessed with themselves and concerned about how you were going to
Yeah.
what you were going to do for them and not vice versa. So I don't know. She says you're a caregiver and you should care for yourself. And he's like, I own my own happiness. I'm good. It's
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels as though she's putting this onto him and it's not
Yes.
adding up. I'm not
Yeah.
seeing that about him.
It feels to me like Carla and Juan, like where there's like a little bit of projection about, oh, this must be who you are. Like, I've already concluded who you are based on XYZ things. But it's like, no, take some time to get to know there are nuances to this. It's not cut and dry. So yeah, I think she is jumping to conclusions with him.
And she also mentioned something about the description of his previous relationship and how toxic it was. I
Mhm.
wonder if it was because we don't have the details yet, but I wonder if he's described a scenario where it was toxic in terms of a cycle and he kept trying to make it work, trying to make it work. So she's also
Mhm.
coming to the conclusion of you'll take a lot of mistreatment before you throw in the towel.
Mhm.
He did end up out of a relationship. It didn't progress to marriage. And so I don't know. I'm not I get someone who wants to do the work to make a relationship work, and I
Yeah.
think she's getting pushover from that.
Mhm. So I think that's something she'll have to examine on herself, on her own. All right. Then they go into girls and boys night, but we can talk about that when we maybe talk about David and Michelle.
Okay.
But after the girls' night and guys' night, um, they go on the water,
Mm-hmm.
and she was talking about his eclectic style, which she clearly isn't feeling. But I mean, I get it. I saw a tweet the other day where it was, "I'm so glad I'm not in a relationship where I'm living in constant fear of my partner's next outfit," and I think that's what Madison fears with Alan.
For me, it's one of those things where I don't see it as that big of a deal. I At this stage, I think the attraction part
Hmm.
is a bigger deal, like physical attraction versus the eclectic style. I think,
I think it's a part of the physical attraction or
yeah,
the
it
lack
could
thereof.
be. But I
Yeah,
think if he was wearing these eclectic things and he had a ripped gym body, she'd be seeing through those green shades.
that's fair because you can always change people's style. I mean,
People
we talked about
evolve.
Taylor and Garrett and how
Oh, he came. Mm-hmm.
his fashion has leveled up. So that could be
Mm-hmm.
changed. But you're right. I think the attraction just isn't there, and that adds on to it.
Right.
And she also thinks he talks too much because she said, "Oh, you have these long answers." So I think she's just finding out that she doesn't like him,
Mm-hmm.
but she's still trying to be polite and go along with the process, which I appreciate her trying. Like, she's not being a jerk to him, but
No,
we can clearly tell she's not attracted to him.
no, she's not. And I think, unfortunately, Alan is holding on to the chemistry and spark that was there on the wedding night because of the
Mhm.
alcohol. And maybe he doesn't realize at that point that he should let go of that.
I think he's starting to realize it, honestly. I think
Hmm.
he's trying to figure out, okay, how long do I hold out hope?
Try.
I think he's getting to that point because, again, it's only been 3 days, so I think he doesn't want
Hmm.
to throw in the towel yet. But I think he can read the room well enough.
I agree.
That's what I think. Yeah. All right. That's really all I have on them.
Okay, yeah. That was it.
Dun dun dun. David and Michelle.
So, what
So,
else?
he while he's at the gym, Michelle talks to her sister,
Mm-hmm.
and she pretty much says like, I can feel myself being a brat. She knows she's the issue, but it's like acknowledging it is just half the battle. Now you have to do something about it, and she's not willing to. At 38 years old, it seems like not saying this is true for all 38 year olds, thankfully, but I
Mm-hmm.
think she is just stuck in her ways and doesn't know how to come out of them. And he's not the person who she would even try to come out of her bad habits for.
Mm-hmm. I I would understand more. I understand she was holding herself a bit accountable to her sister. This is a conversation you should have with David. Be honest. If you're direct and you're 38 years old, have that conversation with him. This is how I usually retreat. This is who I am.
Yeah. And then she's talking about, I'm sitting in my room by myself and we're moving past hurdles we know about each other. Who's we? Because you're not trying to move past anything. He is. But even his attempts are falling flat with you.
And his attempts are irritating you.
Yes. And I think that's what it is. I think, you know what I think is irritating her? I think she knows that she's not attracted and whatever, and she wants him to make it easy for her to leave, but he's not because he's being so nice to her. It's like, you know how you want a gotcha moment on somebody, but they're not giving it to you. That can be upsetting to a certain type of person.
He's like, why
And so
are
I
you being
think,
so nice?
right, that's the vibe I'm getting.
Maybe because he's a nice person, and outreach. Maybe he isn't, but he's aware of the fact that he's on international television and he wants to
Yeah.
conduct himself in a certain way,
I
knowing.
think he really is a nice person.
But to say she's like, oh, this isn't how he is, or he's not being
Yeah.
genuine, and he's smart enough to be this way on TV. So,
Yeah.
and I
She's
do
like, well,
think
I
that he
don't,
is a nice person, by the
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know what his interests are. You don't want to know.
The sister gave her good advice. You could at least have fun
Yeah.
and give him a chance. You could at
Yeah.
least go do an activity, go grab some drinks, go enjoy the resort. And in his defense, he has been trying to counter her disinterest with, well, let's just go have fun. Let's just go do this, go do that. It's not like he's like, hey, let's lay in bed and talk about all the issues we have.
Yeah.
He's been
And I
trying to
think
redirect them.
I think that's upsetting her too. Like the fact, because she said that, the fact that he's like, hey, let's go and do stuff together. Wait, why are you not as frustrated as I am? Because when he comes back from the gym, he takes Madison's advice of, well, ask her questions about herself and try to get deeper with her or whatever. And I immediately put, well, I wish that she would give him more information because even about her past relationship, yeah, it just
Yeah.
fizzled. Well, what were the signs of it fizzling? And now
A
she
3 year
wants
relationship just fizzled?
and she wants him to ask these, or she says she wants him to ask these probing questions, but it's like, oh, there are no follow-up questions. And it's like you're not giving him anything really to follow up on. You're making it seem like an inconvenience that he's even talking to you.
Extremely rude. He was even asking, oh, okay, these in the last 6 years, were there a few longer term relationships in there? Were there a few weeks? Oh, all of the above. Well, excuse me.
I'm sorry for trying to get to know you, person who I'm stuck in a room with for the next week.
And I will say, I think Madison was right in the sense of, okay, you came in hot on the wedding day, wedding night, giving her a lot of information about you. It is probably in your best interest to ask about her because you might discover things that you don't like about her. But he hasn't even had the opportunity to get to that. So I think Michelle sees herself on a high horse. I'm this, I'm that. Well, you haven't divulged a whole lot about yourself for him to even be able to judge, are you a person I even want to keep trying for?
Right, because he might not like you. Have you ever thought of that? But I will say, I still think he said too much. So after she wouldn't give information about her relationship, I would have never told her I have a tattoo. I would have never told her the 12-year relationship off and on. I would have just been like, I was in a long-term relationship. And I think everything he said turned her off even more.
Of course, but I think for him, he sees it as I'm being genuine to this process. I'm
Yeah.
being honest, authentic. I actually want for this to try and work because the flip side to that is you bring up this 12-year relationship, but you don't bring up the tattoo. Like it could work against him, even though
Honestly,
none of this
everything is
matters.
going to work against him. Right, exactly. Yeah. Um,
And then she's even more irritated where I will say though, the fact that you still have this tattoo on your body and you haven't at least covered it up.
that was the comment I was gonna make. Like, if you knew you were coming into this process, why not just get that done? So it's one less thing that you have to tell your wife about yourself.
She's like,
So
oh, I'm
yeah,
not coming with you to do that.
like she's like, you at this point you're doing it to yourself because now you have had the opportunity to have a beautiful vacation and you didn't even do that. I would feel better if she were at least living, at least if she were enjoying the vacation, but you're stuck in your room. Ugh.
And as we saw later, you can't even enjoy yourself with the other people.
Wasn't that
Girl,
terrible?
what a
Wasn't
wet
that?
towel.
I was just like, girl, what? Yeah, but he couldn't have done anything right with her. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna go shower, and he was gonna give her a space. And then I don't even think he was pressing her like the way she was like, oh, he was pressing me. He said, I'm gonna go do this. I would love to have you there. You're welcome to come. And then he went. And then I think he's trying to be a good husband to her. Like, because if he doesn't follow up with her and be like, oh, just
Hmm.
checking in to see how you're doing, and he didn't even check on me all day. Like, there's just no pleasing her. And I dislike
And as a
those type.
man, in his defense, that is very much a response a woman would give. Oh, but you took too
Yeah.
long and you didn't even at least try. Come on, women, we know how we can be.
And it's just
I need my
like,
space, but I need you to try.
while I'm having my space, you need to miss me. But they're not like that. But I think he's trying to do what he's supposed to do. Because even when they went on the boat, and I'm getting ahead, but she was like, we haven't really talked at all. Okay. But then she said that she would be okay with them not even talking that day. I said, all right, girl, why are you here?
I loved how when he got back, I think it was from the shower, he jumps right in and he's like, do you even find me physically attractive?
Did she
And
ever answer that?
she says, oh, well, I'm finding it hard to find attraction between us. I would have more respect for you if you would have just been honest and said, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put this man out of his
Uh,
misery.
and then he talks about him getting vague answers. And she's like, you're asking vague questions. Okay, Michelle, you're the problem because we heard you say it on the phone with your sister. Why are you with him trying to act like you're not?
A mess.
Anyway, and then I think later on, he asked her about, oh, this part ate me up, Yosha. He asked about, oh, like, what kind of family do you come from? What are your parents like? And she's like, well, why are you wanting to know that? Did we not get matched up? Am I not supposed to be trying to get to know you? Like, family. And his answer was nice. Like, family's important to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to get to know you, so I want to know what family means to you. What do you mean? Why are you wanting to know that? So you're so closed off that even when he asks specific questions, you're not going to answer them. You want to know why. Like, she's so defensive. It's such a turn off. Get her off my screen.
We do not want to see her anymore. Put us all
Yeah.
out of our misery. And it
Yeah.
shows that even with age, age does not equal maturity. Any random person could ask me like, okay, well, tell me about your background, tell me about yourself. You can't just have a general conversation. Oh, well,
With
this is
someone
my
who,
upbringing, this is where I was raised, this is a little bit about my family dynamics. You don't have to have romantic interest in someone to
yeah.
have a conversation where you just get to know them. And most people enjoy talking about themselves.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, but then she said something about how she wants him to be frustrated because she is. So when he goes and takes a shower and then he's like, "Well, can we, go and let's hang out?" She's upset with him for trying to move things forward. She wants to just stand still and stew in her anger.
what did she
And I
say?
wish,
He's in dreamland. How does she describe it? Do you remember?
yeah, I don't remember
Fantasyland?
but essentially she's saying he's delusional.
Right.
And then they have the girl talk and guy talk, which I will say doing guy talk, do you feel like she kept making stuff about him? Like when it was time for him to respond to what David was saying, he'd be like, well, for me and Emem, here's how it's going. I'm like, ain't nobody
It
asked you that.
it goes back to he just wants to present well. That's it. He very much cares about image,
Yeah.
not Mem herself. So
Yeah. Exactly. But then they had Pilates with Carla. Somebody in our comments put the extra R's for Carla, and I cracked up. I was like,
I will say about the advice that um, I think it was Akechi gave him. What did he say? Something about have no expectations. This is a whole marriage.
thanks,
What?
Akechi. Like, and you know what I hate? I hate that people see Akechi and Amem as like the couple.
What? When they
As the
watch this
couple.
back,
They go, oh, he didn't even like her, you know?
mm,
So I think that's going to be funny. Okay. Mich- Michelle at Girls at Pilates says that he talks at me. I don't get
I,
her.
I
I
don't
don't
get
get
that
her.
he's talking at her at all.
And I really like Amem because she said, you know, you have to remember he doesn't know you yet. He doesn't know how to communicate with you. You have to instruct him, and yeah, you don't know him. So it's like you have to put forth the effort.
One thing that I love, because sometimes this is what we'd usually see where a girl is having an issue with the guy. She goes back to the girls, is saying one version of things, and the girls are hyping her up and, oh yeah, girl, he's this, he's that, or he's all in the wrong. But I think because Madison has already had a conversation with,
They know it's tea.
they know it's T. And even the way Camille was looking, they already know she's the problem. And I love that.
Because Camille said that in her diary camp. I think Michelle is stuck on whatever and she's not trying to move on. I think it would be her. She said it very politely, but they know she. And then Emem saying, you know, you're not the bad guy, which I think she was just saying to help to be nice. But I appreciated her saying, and he's not either. She said it like 3 times, like, he's not either. He's not the bad guy. And he isn't.
And
He's
then
not.
I think Mim tried to give her some advice on, hey, at least continue to try. And the way when Michelle turned her head, she rolled her eyes. I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, in my mind, I want the whole day in regards to him giving her space. Now he's supposed to know that if you don't say, hey, can you give me the rest of the day?
And I'm sorry, but the how would I say it? The bounce back time doesn't match the offense. Meaning, whatever
What
he
is the offense? There's no offense.
whatever he's say someone does do something right, the recovery time, that's what I was trying to say, the recovery time that you may need by yourself should match. You need a whole day and he's done nothing wrong.
Annoying. Annoying. And like, how is he supposed to know the whole day? Like, of course he's gonna call and check in. And she's like, you know, he just needs to back off a little bit. No, you and your sisters, I don't want to hear the words back and off together from y'all ever again.
Girl, this goes back to Independent. I don't think you really want to be married, but
I think she wants to be married to a certain type of person. That's not David. Okay. And so Madison was like, I think you should ask him deeper questions too, try to get to know him. You saw she ain't take that advice. And she wasn't going to. So it's clear that one person's trying to make this work and the other person is not. But then, all right, so after the girl talk, she talks about how she needs space and essentially doesn't want to bother with him. And that's when she says back off a little bit. But the way that she said it, because he said, trust me, I got it before you said that, because she said it in like 3 different ways back to back. And he's like, you know, I got it before that time too. Um, she just kept repeating it rubbed me the wrong way. And then when he tries to say something, she's like, you gotta stop interrupting me. I said, girl, what? I
and
don't.
if he was interrupting her, I think they would have shown it. I didn't see it. And I don't, is this the same scene where he asked her, what were your expectations going into them? And is there any way I could meet them? I think it was in that same scene.
That was such a sweet thing to ask.
And she's like, I just don't see where we're compatible as far as our future. He still says that he's willing to try. And it just infuriates her even more. She says, "Oh, you're smothering me. You keep cutting me off. Let me talk."
Girl, you've talked enough. You've talked enough. And then he walked away and he apologized for doing that. She pretty much said, "It's okay. I ain't miss you. You could have stayed away longer, honestly." But he says, "Have your space." I feel sad that he was doing everything alone. Like he's like, I'm out here at the
I
pool.
know.
I felt bad for him. I did. He needs to find some community in Mexico. Um, but yeah, and then why does he have to sleep on the couch?
Why don't she just go home? Ask for a
Say,
different room.
please, 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 please. He's really giving her way a little bit too much for my liking.
Hmm.
At this point, okay, ma'am, you don't like me, that's fine, but I'm gonna sleep comfortably while I'm here in Mexico. All right. And then I think the last things that we have are, that he gave her the space that she said it wasn't enough. They go on the boat where she's by herself and everybody's in the water. I was really happy that David was having a good time with everybody else and making the most of it. Even when he tried to talk to her, I was hoping to keep it light. He's like, okay, we can keep it light. I'm gonna go inside. It's awkward at this point. He's like, I'm gonna go inside and just leave you out here to be.
And it shows that she can't even just have fun with the group. What does everyone else have to do with what's going on? You can't just enjoy your drink, jump in the water, have a good time.
Right. She was on the
Uh,
like the top deck or whatever of the boat. And then she breaks down with the producer and she's like, he's a good guy, I know it's not him. Okay, pack your stuff and leave. Go
then
ahead.
tell
Go ahead
him
and pack
that.
it up for me. Huh?
Tell him that
Yeah.
you're holding yourself accountable to other
Yeah.
people, and it's
But not
making no, it's not making. You are being very rude to him for no reason. So just tell him it's me, not you. But it still doesn't answer why can't you just enjoy everyone else's company? You're in a group setting. Now you want to break down and cry, call attention to yourself.
she's spoiled.
Mm-mm,
She is spoiled.
ma'am.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I have on these couples this week. Did you have anything else to add?
What did you think about Ikechi and everything he was saying to him, Mim? He's like, "Oh, I just want to get to know you more and all of who you are, and I know when you're this, and I know when you're that."
I know when you're hungry.
You didn't eat
Okay.
enough bacon.
I'm not messing with with Ikechi. Like I don't think anything about it.
We're not buying it. And I will say, I don't know that Mim is all that into him either.
I think she's taking her time. Like I think she
Yeah.
likes him. I think she likes being married, but I think she's just taking it as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think she's like, oh, he's God's gift from whatever. I think she's just taking it in stride.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm
So
still
yeah.
not buying it. So,
Period.
yeah.
And with that, you guys let us know what you thought in the comments. Are we all over Michelle at this point? I'm guessing we are. But let us know if there's someone who wants to offer a different perspective. We will, be willing to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And also let us know. I don't know for those who are Love is Blind people, but today there's a big interview dropping with Tyler from Love is Blind on the Dear Future Wifey podcast. So let us know if you're planning on checking that out or if you're over them too. And we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.